Cheers YouTube. I wanted to put together a video to show the latest project that I've completed for my flight simulator, which was to recreate a G-Seat inspired by some retail products that were beyond my price range, but I thought maybe I could hack something together. So I got into pneumatics and USB relays and then interfacing with DCS, and I've experienced I've completed the technical demos, but I'll end this video with the first real flight in it, and hopefully it'll work, but we'll find out. So next I'll just walk you through the components and how I put it all together, and then we'll take it for a spin. Alright, so I'm outside my pit, and just while I'm throwing on my suit, which I don't wear for every flight, but sometimes it's fun to go in depth, and tonight is a night like that. I wanted to talk about what started this whole project, and that was that I've built a sim I really enjoy flying. The visuals are pretty neat, the controls, the inputs are really good, but one of the things that was really missing was the feedback that you'd get from flying the real thing. And the biggest thing that demonstrated that was if I was over a target area and had my autopilot set to hold 30 degrees of bank and just flying in a circle with the autopilot on, sometimes in the A10 there's things that will trip the autopilot off, and there is an announcement that goes on, but if you miss that, I'd find that sometimes I'm heads down doing switchology or maps or radio work, and not even realize that I've left autopilot, I've rolled inverted, I'm 80 degrees nose down, and that's just completely unrealistic. You'd feel those forces on your body in the real thing. You wouldn't have to look up just to realize that something had gone wrong. So I thought with a G-Seat or something that would give you a physical sensation, that you'd be able to tell when those things go wrong. And then for bonus measures, if I can do something that increases the immersion and actually feels at all realistic, that would be even better. So first goal was just tactile feedback with the position and orientation of the aircraft, and then second was enhanced realism. Part two, which is new to this project, is that I needed some way to apply the pressure on my legs to simulate what it would feel like if you were rolled 90 degrees to the right. You'd feel pressure on your right leg. So I thought about doing this several different ways, and I'll just skip right to what ended up happening. And I built these legs that will make more sense as I put them on here, and it's a little bit of a funny parallel here, because this ends up being somewhat similar to a G-Seat that a real pilot would put on, or at least a fighter pilot, performance aviator. So the bladder is in here. It's just a inflatable pack, and this is the airline going to it. So I want those positioned kind of beside and towards the back of my leg. Get those nice and tight. Right. All right, I'll put my knee board and gloves on when I get in the pit, so I will head in, show you the last couple steps, and then we'll take her up. So here we're looking at the back of the seat that houses all of the controls and kind of the guts of it. So power coming in is not too complicated. This is just the amplifier for the bass shaker that I've had in the seat all along, so that wasn't new. Basically the two systems are, I have a regular sort of construction type compressor attachment, which I have hooked up to my air compressor that's a couple rooms away, so I already had the hosing for that, so I get air pressure in here. This is a pressure regulator just to bring it down. I need fairly specifically 20 psi to balance between what the piston needs and the bladder, so that way I ensure that it's regulated here and I don't need to keep checking the compressor. That's a sort of cheap little manifold to spread it out to the 3 relays I have. So these are 12 volt DC relays. Basically, a good example is this one here. So this is the air coming into it, and then there's 2 lines leaving it that go to the 2 sides of the piston that's inside the seat. And basically when you get 12 volts to this side, then this pipe receives air and this one extracts it and the piston moves. Or if power is applied to that side, then it just reverses that, so I can extend or retract the piston accordingly. And then the two that run to the bladders are just a single line, so they'll either add air to the bladder or just drain back through the line. So 3 relays, or rather 3 valves, and the power is controlled from this relay board. So this is prefabbed. It's just a USB relay lab from Denkovi. Shipping was a bit slow, but other than that, highly recommended. It's been a good product to work with. So that basically has a USB connection, which I have hooked up to my simulator for signaling, and then each relay can provide 12 volts DC to any one of the valve actuators. So the 12 volt DC just comes from the adapter here, and I'll show you the software side in a bit. So that's basically the inner workings. On the front side of the chair, I realized that applying force isn't going to make a lot of sense unless you're actually strapped in. So I was really lucky to find a used RAF harness. I think it was used from the F4's type of aircraft. So I got a neat little, almost collectible kind of thing in there. It's got a real nice feel to it. I was super lucky that it included this, they call it the bang box, that helps clip you in and get out quickly. And then for the shoulder straps, I wanted G-forces to simulate pulling down on your shoulders. So it's a little hard to see here, but there's a seatbelt type of strapping that goes back to this neat little retractor that it had, which is cool. There's a switch here, so if you go, right now it's in release, so you can move around mode, but before takeoff, you lock it down, and now like a seatbelt, it kind of ratchets itself back and holds tight. So once it holds tight, it's actually strapped to a piston. Sorry, this video is not looking great, but you can see in there's the piston, the 2 supply lines to it that come from the back, which I showed, and then there's a box that mounts the end of that strapping to the piston, so this will move downwards when air is applied and apply tension to the shoulder straps, and then the opposite when you return to wings level flight. Okay, so back in the pit, I've got the leads from the G-pants, and I'll plug those in now that I'm seated. Again, somewhat realistic since you plug in your G-seat suit, excuse me. Next, I'm going to strap into the seat. So just a little bit caught there. Pull up this box, make sure it's on fasten. Get my legs strapped in. Usually do this outside so there's less stuff in the way, but there we go. So those are on, and now we'll pull down the shoulder straps. Loosen that off quite a bit. So loosen those, get comfortable, tighten them down. So that's pretty good. So, and then I'll demonstrate this release. So if I release it now, I can lean forward, adjust anything in the pit, and then once I'm ready to go, I'll push it down, and it'll start ratcheting, so you can hear it ratchet until it's tight. Now, if I try to move forward, I'm quite in there. So I'll ratchet it down, ready for flight. Just finish up here. I've got my checklists, emergency references, so I'll strap them on over top of the seat and go gloves on and get rid of my dust covers. All right, so I'm going to slide into position and fire up the sim, and then we'll see how this goes. Okay, so we're in here.
representing the pilot native ATS. Yes, that'll around and game theory. And then trying to find an angle here that might capture some action that's occurring on Lake Bladder.
Okay, that'll have to do. So we are on the runway. We got gauges green, flaps down, pitot on. Good enough for this. So run engines up to 90. And rolling. No forces yet. A10 accelerates too slowly to get any real positive there. You can start to hear it clicking now. So now we're going to roll 10 degrees nose up and start to climb. Something's wrong with my pit, but I didn't do a proper startup, so that's fair. Gear up, flaps up. Alright, so I'm in a nice slow 5 degrees up, wings level. So I don't expect any forces yet, but if I increase my pitch, there should be a point where the shoulder straps will start to tighten. You should hear the relays go, so there's 25, 30. Oh, there they started to go over 45 degrees. I just changed some of my dead zones, so that didn't really work like I expected. All right. Swing and a miss there. I'll have to figure out what happened to positive pitch. Right, so let's test the legs then. So I'm going to go into a left-hand turn, so it's the bladder you should see. And there it goes. So I'm at about 60 degrees right now, and that leg inflated. I roll to 90, it inflates a bit more, and try to hold 90 degrees. That's working really well. Back to level, and it deflates. Right side, and there goes the right bladder inflated to quite a bit of pressure, and back down. All right, that went really well. Let's try some inverted flight. I again would expect the shoulders to take effect. Something's wrong with the shoulders there. I wonder if I might have forgot to lock them down here. That could be like that. Make sure they're ratcheted down properly. Now let's try inverted flight. There we go. Yeah, okay, so that was a mechanical problem, not a pit problem. Just not being pulled firmly into the seat before we took off. Let's try that again. Go inverted. Yeah. So they're pulling down tight on the shoulders and back off when I go level. Pretty good. Try that positive pitch again. Yeah.
Approaching 5,000 feet. Let's level out here. Let's pick up some airspeed and magnetic power. Flying over water can be disorienting. So let's turn
Fantastic.
Turn right to 040. Watch your altitude. 5,000 feet.
All right, well, I'm sure this last part of the video didn't capture as well as it feels here in pit, but I'm super happy. For the most part, everything's working as expected. I'm sure there'll be a little tuning to the algorithm as far as what inflates during certain events, but I've got everything
hoping for here in terms of having some feedback
Generally flying speeds less than maximum.
based on orientation in the planes. Super cool, super happy. Post any questions that you may have. We'd be happy to answer them or fill in any details if you're curious. Cheers. See you in the air.